If you're thinking about starting your journey with low-code app or automation development for your small business, Power Platform gives you a really robust set of tools to do so. And in many cases, you can start working with Power Platform with almost zero learning curve. But there are a few things that you should be on the lookout for that might cause you some problems or make your apps or automations less usable than you would like later on down the road. So in today's video, I'm going to point out my top 3 list of mistakes that you should avoid when starting out with Power Platform. Number 1, don't try to reinvent the wheel. The biggest power of Power Platform for those who are just starting out is the ability to connect together apps that you're already using, data sources that you've already got, and gain additional value from them through creating automations or simple apps that help you to run your business process. So while it is possible that you could start out and say, hey, I'm going to build a new CRM platform in Power Platform, and you could certainly do that, there is no real benefit in doing so because you already have deep integration with Dynamics CRM or Salesforce or a range of other tools. So starting small and being focused is going to give you a lot more advantage, particularly when you're starting out or when you're working on a small scale, than building out something that's big and complicated from scratch. Think about it from the point of view of you want to use Power Platform, you want to use apps built in Power Apps, or you want to use automations built in Power Automate to fill in the gaps that exist in your existing infrastructure or the apps that you already use, rather than going out and reinventing all of those apps. There are hundreds of connectors. There are custom connectors for any platform that has a modern API. And you could even use Power Automate Desktop to have robotic process automation for those apps, those legacy systems that don't have a modern API where you can only use a desktop interface. So really, if you have a piece of software, you can use it with Power Platform, and you're going to get a lot more benefit out of connecting those different aspects of your work together rather than redesigning from scratch, particularly when you're just starting out. Number 2, focusing on form rather than on function. When you're just starting out, it can be really easy to go down a rabbit hole with Power Platform, whether you're thinking about Canvas apps or Power BI reports or even Power Pages, to get really focused on the look of what you're creating rather than the functionality of it. And you can end up in a situation where you have an amazing looking app with great looking screens, really wonderful UI, but the app doesn't actually do anything. Or worse yet, you build all of that form and then you find that the thing that you were trying to do with it doesn't actually work in the way that you've designed it. A far more productive way of working is to start off with building that functionality out quickly. Get yourself a proof of concept. It can be a proof of concept that's a little bit ugly on the screen, and make sure that what it is you're trying to do is reasonably achievable with the connectors you've got, with the data that you've got, with the time that you've allowed yourself to build out the solution. And then once you've got that working, build out the UI, build out the visual elements that you need. The visual elements are really, really important to make sure that you're going to get usage of your app, to make sure that your users are engaged, but you're never going to get that usage. You're never going to get that engagement if fundamentally the solution that you've built doesn't do what it's supposed to do. So start with function and then move on to form later on. Number 3, making your data storage or its structure an afterthought. Now, when you first start out, you're probably working with the connectors that exist already in Power Platform. And in most cases, you're able to transact between apps and services without worrying too much about how that data is stored. as you're querying another service for some data that's already holding, or you're pushing some data back into that service. But there will come a point where you need to start putting your own data storage in the middle of that, and you're going to be holding on to data that perhaps helps those other services that you're working with, and sits it in the middle or behind the apps or the other solutions that you're building. And in that case, you need to make sure that you really think about how is that data going to be stored and how it's going to be structured as part of your app development. It certainly is impossible to unpick mistakes that are made in this part of the process, but it's a lot easier if you take time to think about this initially and to get it right in terms of what do I need to store? How flexible does it need to be? For example, can a choice column be a fixed set of choices, or is it better if that choice column is a lookup to another table because I need to be able to add in some additional data with that choice, or I need my choices to be very flexible over time? These kinds of things are going to make a big difference to how you choose to structure your data and what platform you decide to use for it. Now, in terms of platform, the right answer, if you're licensed for it, a lot of the time is going to be to use Dataverse. Dataverse gives you a lot of capabilities with Power Platform that you simply don't get through other data storage mechanisms like SharePoint or even SQL. But the right answer will depend on what your environment is in your business and what you've already got set up. Lastly, when thinking about data, we need to think about what reporting we're going to do and what reporting do we need now, but also how might we interrogate that data in the future. And certainly talking with other colleagues that might use your data in your app is going to be useful to enable you to get the right answer to that. So if you're going to create some data storage for your app, for your solution, then really take the time to think about that before you just get started with creating tables and columns without any real design or forethought to it. It's going to make things a lot easier for you in terms of managing your app and making your app functional for the things that you want to do with it in the future. Getting started with Power Platform should be exciting, not scary. And for a lot of users, you really can get started with almost zero learning curve. However, thinking about pointers like the ones that I've made in this video will help you not to step in traps along the way that are going to make your life more difficult as you get started with your process of learning Power Platform and gaining advantage with it in your business. There are lots and lots of really good resources out there. Microsoft itself has wonderful resources that are good for all levels of users to learn about Power Platform. And beyond that, if you need additional help, then consulting companies like mine, Bright Ideas Agency, are out there to help you, whether it's coaching that you need, help with specific aspects of an app that you're working on, or more generally to help you with your organization's digital strategy. So if you need some help and you'd be interested in talking to me, do reach out. I'd be happy to chat with you about your Power Platform projects or the potential for using Power Platform within your organization. If you found this video useful, then please give it a like. And if you are enjoying content like this, then please do subscribe to the channel. Until next time, bye-bye.